Today on the 10-12 podcast, myself and Chase A. Kiddy are making picks for every Week 6 game in the Big 12 Conference. That includes the Tumbleweed Tussle between Arizona and Texas Tech, OSU and West Virginia both looking for wins, Iowa State looking to continue to roll against Baylor. Plus, do you know who the 5 best quarterback QBRs are in the Big 12? Chase has got the info, and I got to make guesses coming up.
With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows the resourceful individual to earn the very liberal rate of 4.5% APY on uninvested cash, receive unlimited 1% deposit bonuses, and be rewarded with the handsome 3% retirement boost on an IRA account. Get the privileges of the high net worth for any net worth for just $5 a month. Sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC.
Welcome to the 10-12, the podcast that covers all 16 teams in the Big 12 Conference. We are the flagship show of the 10-12 Network. Find every show on the network at 1012network.com. TEN, the number 12, the word network.com. And of course, we are part of Sports Social, Europe's biggest sports podcast network. I'm your host, Phillip. Thank you for joining us for our Week 6 Picks pod. Very excited for this week. It was going to be a big one. I was really thrilled with the guest that we had lined up. Unfortunately, due to a hurricane that came through recently and some flooding, he doesn't have Wi-Fi and his hotspot's not working. And so I'm not going to name the guest because as we all know, as soon as I do, it will never work out. So I'm hoping that if I keep him as a mystery guest, because this is the second time we've tried to have him on, it will actually work out. Only hint I will give is he is the father of one of the metrics that I list off on the show on a weekly basis. So very, very excited to have him on when that happens. But I am not alone, as you know, of course, every episode is someone's first. Joining me as he does every week to make picks for the Big 12 games for the upcoming weekend. He is it fair to call you the granddaddy of MGM, BetMGM, Chase A. Kiddy?
I don't know. I didn't found the company or anything, but I like to think I contribute over there in a measurable, meaningful way.
Sure. Your weekly picks article is good. It's you're still doing pretty well over there with that one.
Yeah, it's going pretty well. I think through 6 weeks, this is probably one of the better seasons I've ever had. Yeah.
Well, there we go. We got you on just the right time. It's just because you're with us now. So you'll do poorly you get all the bad out on the show and all the good out. As we have mentioned on this show during the picks episodes, ever since we've been doing it, we pick every game in the Big 12. In real life, you should not pick every game. You should just pick the ones you feel the most confident in. It's really hard to be confident when picking the Big 12. It is impossible to be really confident when picking every Big 12 game. Kelly Ford put out the graphic, I think it was Wednesday or Tuesday. They start to run together. That was all the teams with 1-score games left. The top 4 in the Big 12, 14 of the 16 Big 12 teams have at least 5 1-score games projected left on their schedule. So y'all take your heart medicine, sleep as much as you can, and try and skip coffee on Saturdays, just as a thought, just to help you out. Okay, so before we dive in, Chase, you texted me this week and said you needed some time to kind of update our Big 12 quarterback conversation that we had before the season. So this is your opportunity to unload the thoughts that you have had building and building and building inside of that brain of yours.
Yeah, I have a little mini game almost for us to play. So one of the things I do at MGM every week is I kind of track the progression and the evolution of individual QBR numbers. And I track sort of who is in the top quarter of FBS college football. So the top 30 is the number I look at every week. And I'm going through and because this year in particular, I sort of see things from a more slanted Big 12 perspective. and I see some of the names that are on the list. If you're going to look it up right now, don't look it up because I'm about to ask you specific questions.
I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not.
So I see some of the names and I'm like, interesting. That's a name I maybe wouldn't expect to see on this list. Oh, that's an interesting name. So fun game to play here. Currently, right now, going into week 6, there are 5 Big 12 quarterbacks in the top 30 of college football total QBR. I'm going to give you 7 guesses.
Okay.
See how many of the top 5 you can name. The 5 Big 12 quarterbacks in the top 30. You have 7 guesses.
Okay, so I got 2 mulligans. All right, I'm gonna take notes while I do this so I don't forget who I picked. All right, the way you have presented this makes me think that there's at least one on here that we were like, meh. And based off conversations we've had through the season, my first pick is going to be Brendan Sorsby from Cincinnati.
Sorsby is on the list. He is 3rd of the 5 Big 12 quarterbacks. He is currently 17th overall in FBS college football.
Okay.
1 for
let's
1.
go. Okay, let's go with Shedeur Sanders. He seems like he might be on that list as well.
He is not.
Oh, well, there's one mulligan. Okay. No Shedeur. All right. There's so many options. I'm not going to have to worry about Donovan Smith. I'm not going to shouldn't have to worry about Alan Bowman. Jake Retzlaff.
He is not.
Oh. All right. I've got my weird ones out of the way. Let's just go with the ones that should be.
This is a very weird list. I've just
named guys you wouldn't expect to be on there. There's 16 quarterbacks in the conference. Like it's
pretty much the whole idea behind the game is that this list is so weird. This is just the weirdest possible names that you could imagine.
Rocco Becht.
No.
This is going great. I started off so strong. And
you're making all the same guesses I would have made. So
okay.
I'm right there with you.
Garrett Green.
Garrett Green is on the list.
Okay,
would probably would not have guessed Garrett Green as a West Virginia guy. Would not have thought he was on there, but he is number 22 right now in total QBR college football.
When you said you're guessing all the guys I would have guessed, I immediately went with Garrett Green, who I would not have guessed without the clue. I would have guessed these other people. Yep. Okay, so if we're going with guys that, I just drew a blank on his name. I'm not looking up the list. I just want to make sure I have the name correct because otherwise I feel bad. Clickety, 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 clickety. Great radio.
Fix it.
Sam Levitt.
Sam Levitt not on there.
Okay, so Sam Levitt's not on there. All right, I only have one guest left. So let's see if I can get a third one on this list. Who do I have here? I could go with TCU, Baylor. OSU. Not doing Jalen Daniels. Let's do guys I wouldn't pick. Let's do Baron Morton.
Not on there.
Oh man, that was terrible.
I think you might have gotten more than I would have gotten.
Number I got 2.
9 overall, and first among all Big 12 quarterbacks right now in terms of total QBR. TCU quarterback Josh Hoover, 85.5.
Okay. I almost guessed Hoover instead of Morton, and I should have gone Hoover. Okay, fair enough.
Second on the list of Big 12 quarterbacks, 15th nationally, Sawyer Robertson at Baylor.
Okay. Obviously, that changeover has been, as we've seen, a good move for them.
Yes.
Okay.
30th on the list, so just barely making my qualifications because I'm looking at the top 30. We have Mr. Alan Bowman.
No, we do not.
Yes, we do. 30th on the list.
QBR is a joke. And
what I got from this is that I think maybe I want to put a little bit less stock in total QBR than perhaps I did previously. Now, as a fun addendum to this, I won't make you guess or anything. There were also 4 more quarterbacks in the top 30 that are not currently Big 12 quarterbacks, but were last year Big 12 quarterbacks. And that's a fun group because there are multiple ways to be a Big 12 quarterback in 2023, but not be a Big 12 quarterback in 2024. Perhaps he's transferred.
Right. I'm going to guess Quinn Ewers is one of them, as former Texas starting quarterback Quinn Ewers.
Right now, it's actually Arch Manning that is on the list. I believe Quinn Ewers is not a qualifying player for the list right now. But my guess is
he's played more games than
I don't know. He's not on he's not on the list on ESPN right now, and Arch Manning is. So
sure. Okay.
But my guess would be that that he would be on the list,
right?
If for whatever reason he appeared on the list.
Yeah.
Arch Manning 8th on the list, so he ranks higher than all the current Big 12 quarterbacks that we just named. The other 3 who were Big 12 quarterbacks last year: Will Howard, number 12.
Okay.
Dylan Gabriel, number 18. So I think those 3 are probably the easy ones. The one that I would not have guessed,
the guy at who is at Louisville,
Tyler Shuck. Tyler Shuck. Yep.
No, they've talked enough about him. Louisville has been good enough. That's not surprising.
Yeah, it's not a shock. Like, I think that's less shocking than like Robertson and Bowman being in the top 30. But
Bowman's the one of like, okay, Sawyer Robertson, things have gone better for him. He fits the offensive scheme better than DeQuan Finn does. Bowman. Okay.
The number is what the number is, but boy, that does not match up with what the eyes tell me. Yeah.
Look, I don't like eye test because the eye test has cost many a Big 12 team because, the eye sees what what the email from ESPN corporate says it's supposed to see, but my eyes don't agree. Well, don't agree with ESPN's QBR, so I guess that makes sense. Okay, well, cool, awesome. That was a fun game. Very good. All right, we should do that again in like a few more weeks and see. If there's been any changes to it. Yeah, let's check into that. Before we get to last week's results, one thing. Brett Yormark's dream of Gonzaga in the Big 12 is dead. Gonzaga is going to be joining the zombified Pac-12 conference. All the details are not yet, but it sounds like they'll be a full member, essentially getting a full cut, despite not having football. This makes a lot more sense for Gonzaga, just because from a geographic standpoint, that fits better playing Oregon States and Washington States and various pieces of the Mountain West, since we now have 2 Mountain West conferences, basically. Realignment's a lot less interesting when it's like UTEP's going to the Mountain West. And don't get me wrong, like, UTEP is an absolute vibe of a football program. They're just not any good on the field. But if there was a program that I wish could be good on the field, because if you go look at the uniforms and things that they do, being based out of El Paso, You can't see me giving the like okay sign because podcasting is not a visual medium, but a big old okay sign. Big thumbs up. Big ones. All right. But sorry, Gonzaga. Yes, I know in theory they could still come to the Big 12 if they wanted to, but Gonzaga doesn't seem like a kind of school that wants to conference hop over and over again. Like, at a certain point, how much money are you really going to need when you don't have football? Like, the baseball needs another 20 million, does it? No. Okay, so anywho. All right. We got to look at what happened last week, how we did. It was very nice. Guess what? Our guest was the winner. He went 4-3 because the game featuring Liberty did not happen. So that one didn't count for or against him. So 4-3, the first guest with a winning week. Congratulations to Gary Seegers of the BetUS College Football Show. Appreciate that. If you have not watched that show, they do it with a live every Tuesday and Wednesday. Go find it on YouTube. It's fantastic stuff. Chase, you and I both went 4-4. So congratulations. You hit on TCU plus 2.5, hit on Colorado plus 14.5, hit on Texas Tech minus 2.5, and hit on Rutgers minus 2. The misses were Baylor minus 3, under 55.5 in Kansas State, Oklahoma State, Houston plus 14.5, and Utah minus 11. 4-4 on the week, 23-29 on the season, sir.
Yeah, really. Look, not all 4-4s are created equal. That was a very hard 4-4 to swallow because I was about 2 plays away from 6-2. Just like the coming down the stretch on the Kansas State Oklahoma State game, survived all those explosive plays in the first half, thought I had it. One last big explosive play late does me in because I was sitting right there under the hook. And then the one I really thought I should have had was Houston plus the points. And then the big Iowa State run late where they've got him bottled up and then somehow it's an 80-yard touchdown run. Just that was a bummer, but we march on.
I also went 4-4, as I mentioned. Hit on Kansas State -4.5. Hit on the over 58.5 in Kansas TCU. Hit on Colorado plus 14.5. And hit on Texas Tech -2.5. The misses were Baylor -3, over 43 in Houston, Iowa State, over 47.5 in Utah, Arizona. And my non-Big 12 pick, New Mexico State plus 9.5. They lost by 10. So great. Awesome. Cool. Just what I need. I have sucked on the non-Big 12 picks this year. It has not been fun. It has not been good. Maybe at some point that'll turn around. I won't hold out hope.
Here's my question on the non-Big 12 picks, because this is one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. You have not hit one yet.
I have week one.
Okay. Well, there goes. I thought you were winless, and I hadn't missed one yet. So the question was gonna be, what happens first? I miss a non-Big 12 or you hit a non-Big 12, but yeah.
I got week one. I have not hit since week one. I got Notre Dame over A&M. And then I missed on Kentucky, and then I did that weird Kentucky thing, and then I thought Cal would beat Florida State, and they didn't. And then, so New Mexico State, I missed by half a point. Cal should have won, and they lost. Kentucky scored like 10 points instead of the 9.5. So like my last 3 misses in a row have all been by the thinnest of margins. It's just not gone. The ball has not bounced my way. So if it's one of those situations, like I feel like I had the right read, and then 8 times out of 10, I probably would have gotten it, and I did not get it this time.
And you're really smacking me on the Big 12 picks when you think about it, because we're kind of even season-long record-wise, but I have the giant bounce from all the non-Big 12 picks. So
I'm kicking myself last week for the overs in the Houston, Iowa State, and the Utah, Arizona. The Houston, Iowa State one, I thought Houston's offense would do a little bit better at home. They punted from the Iowa State 34. They were being so conservative because they really didn't think Iowa State's offense could do all that much, and they thought they might get things going. They punted from the opponent 34.
That's pretty bad.
Woof. And then Utah, Arizona, I felt like the Arizona side, but I wasn't brave enough to take it, and that's my own fault, so I get that loss. I forgot Utah with Isaac Wilson's not actually good at offense. It's just that Oklahoma State's offense gave their Utah offense so many possessions the week prior that it looked like the offense was better than it actually was. So,
yeah, I don't want to step on my Utah comments, but if you did not stay up to watch that game,
I did not.
There are going to be some people that overreact to that Utah Arizona score, and that misread the market going forward in the next couple weeks, I think.
Well, I mean, Utah's off this week, so maybe
the Arizona side of it. Yeah, definitely the Arizona side.
Yeah. It's the same way. Whereas I forgot and overreacted to Oklahoma State's defense based off that performance, and should not have done so. All right. All that said, Chase, you ready to rock and roll and make some picks for this week?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. We do this the same way every week, but like I said, every podcast is someone's first. We go in chronological order. Each person gets to make one pick for each game, either against the spread or over under. If you want to throw a team total or a first half thing in there, you are more than welcome to. We don't typically, but you got to do what you got to do to get yourself the win. TCU hosting Houston on Friday night. I'll have some weeknight Big 12 action. I need a little bit more of it. I'd like to start my week a little early. TCU hosting Houston, 6:30 p.m. God's time, that's Central Time, on ESPN in Fort Worth. It's the beginning of, look, I don't complain about college football. We do not complain about the games. It's not the sexiest collection of games this weekend. It's not, but that's okay. Because every time we have a weekend where everyone's like, it's not very good, and all these ranked teams are playing against unranked teams, we have a week every year where 4 or 5 ranked teams are going to have to go on the road to some unranked opponent, and they're going to lose because this is college football. So prepare yourself for some games that are going to be better than you think they are going in. TCU right now, a 16.5-point favorite at home over Houston. Total in this one, sitting. Well, what happened there? No, I don't want the spread. I want the over-under. I have 2 things open. 51.5. I usually go last on the first pick, so I'll go first this week, just to be nice. TCU is 4-1 to the over this season. Houston is 0-5 to the under. Which of these is going to play out this week? I'm going with the total. Does Houston get shut out for a 3rd straight week? I don't think so, but that doesn't mean I expect the offense to suddenly explode. I don't. Now, will it be as conservative as the last couple weeks? No, because TCU is going to put up points and Houston's going to actually have to try and score, not punt from the opponent 34 like they did against Iowa State. Outside of that Rice game in which Houston put up 33 points, Houston has scored a total of 19 points in its other 4 games. That's 4.75 points a game on offense. It's not a great offense. And TCU is not Rice. Maybe TCU does this all by them lonesomes. Maybe they put up a ton of points. Maybe they put up like 45 points and Houston hits a 1 touchdown and the over hits. And this is a terrible idea. Maybe. But I'm still going to take the under. I'm probably going to regret this at 51.5. But I feel pretty good based off the expectations. SP Plus has a total at 57. T-Shoe has a total at 51.5. FEI has a total at 52.3. Beta has it at 49.07. Parker has it at 54.43. Like, the fear here is a backdoor over because TCU just goes wild. I think Houston's defense will do enough. I don't think they're going to score much. I just need TCU to not put up like 45 points. And the under should hit here because I'm just don't going to like if Houston's going to have an offensive bounce back, it's going to be at home. It's not going to be on the road on a Friday night. I'll take the under 51.5. Chris?
Yeah, I want to take.
Sorry, why did I say Chris? Chase, I'm so sorry.
They look similar. It's fine.
Old habits. No, because you said Chris was. Old habits.
I want to take the 16.5 for reasons I talked about last week with the Iowa State game and for what I have already alluded to in this show, which is like Houston plus the bucket of points probably should have gotten home last week. And if not for one kind of ridiculous play, that's a winner. I don't think TCU's as good as Iowa State. So you would think that Houston plus a similarly large bucket of points would be a nice play. But I'm actually on the under here as well. So I guess we'll find out if a 2-man curse is a thing. You mentioned Houston's 5-0 to the under. You mentioned why that is. It's Houston's offense is very anemic. It's very difficult for them to score more than 10 points in a game. I think that's going to continue for at least a couple more weeks. I think their defense does enough. And I think the scouting report in Big 12 play is going to start to be for teams playing against Houston. Get a lead in the first half, run the ball in the second half. They're not going to catch up to you. Get rid of the clock. And I think that's really going to start playing to unders. If we're still seeing numbers in the 50s, I think Houston under is just bombs away every week. I think that's going to get adjusted pretty fast. I think once you start to get into October and teams have just been wagons on cashing unders or overs either way, better start to figure it out and books start to adjust off of that. To talk about the TCU side of this, just to round it out, TCU's hit 60 or more points in all 4 FBS games. And to your point, early, TCU's 4-1 to the over. Well, that's why. Look at the offenses they've played. Kansas, SMU with the new quarterback, UCF, Stanford all the way back in week 1. Like those are games where you hit 60 total points. So I think you're taking a big step back when you're talking about marrying what TCU is going to do with Houston's offense versus those other teams. And I just think the under is probably a pretty safe bet here, even at 51.5, which can be, just shy of that. I don't want to say 52 is key, but it's more key than a lot of other numbers when you're playing the total game. So yeah, under 51.5 is where I'm going with it. Feels like, 31-13, something like that.
TCU hasn't been great running the ball this season, so my fear is that they get in the second half and they're like, we'll just throw it anyway. I'm hope is just like, no, it's fine. We'll just run the ball and we'll get out of here. And Houston being Houston, like they're gonna have to try, but road game Friday night, Fort Worth. I don't buy it. All right, moving on down the list.
That's the appetizer. Yeah. Let's get to what we're all here for.
Yeah, you versus me. Because there's no morning games, so everybody enjoy your morning off unless you just want to watch some other games. If you only care about Big 12, this is the weekend. This is the Saturday to get some stuff done in the morning. Take your wife to the farmer's market. Take your kids to the park. Get some shopping done because the first Big 12 game does not kick off till 3 o'clock Central Time. And that's the only afternoon one. Everything else is at night. So if you don't care about OSU West Virginia, you could definitely have the whole day to yourself. So if you need a Saturday to appease your wife from the Big 12 fan standpoint, this is the Saturday to do it.
Don't get divorced Saturday.
This is the Saturday. Yeah, don't get to steal the solid verbal bit. We will be calling this one "Don't Get Divorced Saturday." That is brilliant. That's very good. So 3 o'clock, ESPN2, Oklahoma State hosting West Virginia in Stillwater. Well, this is an interesting game. I would say it's the second best game of the weekend in the Big 12 based off of projections and matchup and so on and so forth. I think the best game the most interesting game of the weekend is the last one at like 10 p.m. Central Time. We'll get to it in a few minutes. Oklahoma State, a 3-point favorite at home. Total at 64.5. Woof! Chase, you're up first, sir. What would you like?
Well, I have a lot of notes on this game, so I guess let's just get into it. West Virginia, let's recap coming out of the bye what West Virginia is, because I think that's important, is to understand who these two teams are and what they have done or not done thus far. West Virginia so far. Week 1, lost to Penn State. Weird game, semi-competitive in the first half. Penn State gets that really long touchdown right before half. They go into the locker rooms for halftime. Terrible storm comes in. West Virginia sits on its hands for like a 4-hour weather break right after that awful score. They come back out. The crowd is gone. Penn State wins 34-12. Week 2, FCS game, they win by 35. Not a lot to do there. Week 3, backyard brawl. They're up 10. They blow the lead late. It is a really bad blown lead. It reminds me a lot of the lead they blew. This is a deep cut, and if you're not a West Virginia fan or an Oklahoma State fan, you probably won't even remember this, but it reminds me a lot. 2018. It was almost the exact same scenario. West Virginia's up 10 on Oklahoma State, and it's not just that they blew the lead and Oklahoma State wins in the final seconds. It was that you could feel it coming, even though your brain is saying, there's only 4 minutes left in the game. You're up 10. It's going to be fine.
It was ranked very good West Virginia versus...
Yeah, it was Will Greer, West Virginia. Like, this was not, gee, I wonder if they're good West Virginia. They were good.
No, versus Taylor Cornelius-led, only beat ranked teams, lost to all the unranked ones in conference play, Oklahoma State.
It was bad. It was a bad one, and it was, this Pitt one, it was a bad one too. So, I don't know what to add on top of you can't blow a 10-point lead with 4 minutes left. There's not a lot there. So that it's bad. I think they're better than this Pitt team, and you should have won that game. Week 4, really messy, like middle part of the sandwich against Kansas. Wonderful comeback late to win the game. They really badly needed that win, but Kansas can't do anything right now. They can't close a game to save their lives. So did West Virginia win it? Did Kansas choke it? It's just a Rorschach test looking at West Virginia right now. You can see whatever you want to see. You can see the optimistic case. You can see I think they might kind of suck case. I think you can make good excuses for them. I think you could say, hey, Penn State and Pitt are 9-0 right now combined. You could say, hey, West Virginia's defense is situationally good, but overall, they might kind of suck. Jordan Leslie might not be a very good defensive coordinator. Garrett Green, a little too inconsistent on the intermediate stuff. When you watch West Virginia, they make the easy stuff hard. You kind of want to do the opposite. You kind of want to make the hard stuff easy. They make easy stuff hard. So, a lot going on there, and you can kind of see whatever you want. Oklahoma State, back-to-back weeks against Utah and Kansas State, who were the co-favorites to win the conference in the preseason. They're now 0-2. I know what the Utah score said. That game wasn't close. If you didn't watch it, take our word for it. Wasn't close. you got to figure this is probably the lowest ebb for Oklahoma State in terms of market perception for the entire rest of the season. Here's the key stat. You may have already seen it this week. It's pretty important, I think. Since 2015, Mike Gundy's 8-1 against West Virginia. And in those 8 wins, the margin of victory is about 12 points. Only one of them has been under a touchdown. None of them have been less than 4 points. Guess what the point spread is right now? 3.5. I don't know, man. I like Oklahoma State. I haven't seen anything from West Virginia that tells me, even out of a bye, you're going to go on the road and have the stones to be competitive in this game. I think they have a defensive, recession problem. I think Garrett Green is spectacular in terms of creating big plays, but I think they struggle to sustain drives. I think they struggle to sustain momentum for longer stretches than 6 or 7 minutes at a time in a game. So I like Oklahoma State minus the 3.5. I have already bought an Oklahoma State minus 6.5 at plus 117. I have bought an Oklahoma State minus 9.5 at plus 164. And I'm thinking about going for the full ladder here with an Oklahoma State minus 13.5 play at plus 229.
Okay. Let's see. I don't know. I haven't updated this. Need to update a couple things here. No, not one score, not once. No, yeah. They're 18-9 now in one score games since they lost to. Did I update that one already? I don't know. I gotta go check all my list of stats I try and keep up with. Like over the last 10 years, Mike Gundy is 17-7 in games where the spread's within +3 or -3. I think they're now 8-3 in the last 11 games, including the Houston game, or sorry, the Utah game.
They call that the anti-Matt Campbell, right?
Yeah, because Mike Gundy's really good in one-score games and Matt Campbell is not. And yes, also that. They won 6 of the last 7. This does not fit the 4. All right, so that's just kind of OSU overall. Let me talk about this game in particular, since I got to remember to update that stuff a little bit better. Oklahoma State has not started a conference schedule 0-3 since they started 0-5 back in 2005, Mike Gundy's first season. And only one other time in Gundy's tenure have they lost 3 consecutive conference games. That was in 2014 when they lost 5 straight. That team was real bad. It's not a typical thing for OSU to have large, long, consecutive conference losing streaks. They just don't do that. So to lose here again would be, for Gundy, historic. And you could say historic because he's been at this program for as long as he has. All that said, Oklahoma State's last in the Big 12 in rushing defense, allowing more than 204 yards per game. That's nearly 30 yards more than the next worst rushing defense in the conference. West Virginia's pretty good at running the ball. Pretty good. Between Garrett Green, C.J. Donaldson, Jaheim White, pretty good at running. And if they can run the ball successfully, they don't have to rely on Garrett Green's arm so much. So all that making the hard stuff look, or easy stuff look hard, they don't have to do as much of that stuff because they could just run the ball. West Virginia's DBs or defensive backfield is not great. It's not ideal. Now they're facing Alan Bowman, who apparently is top 30 in QBR. So maybe he'll look like a top 30 QBR quarterback against West Virginia's defensive backs. I don't know. We'll see. We've seen good Alan Bowman. We've seen catastrophically awful Alan Bowman this season. So we just don't know which Alan Bowman. Heck, we could get both in the same game. Look at the Arkansas game. Catastrophically bad first half, much better second half. West Virginia is coming off of an idle week. I went back through Neil Brown's tenure at West Virginia, and excluding 2020 because COVID, and there were 3 idle weeks, but some of those were canceled games, and I'm not going back to check the schedule to do the math on all that nonsense, and you can't blame me for it. Brown is 2-3 after an idle week in his tenure at West Virginia. Not that big of a one way or the other. However, all the games were fairly close and fairly high scoring. Only one of those games was decided by double digits. It was his very first game off an idle week in year 1 against Texas. I believe it was on the road. No, it was at home. It's homecoming at home. Otherwise, most of these games are decided by about 3 points, 4 points. 1 point loss last year. Y'all West Virginia fans, I'm sorry to bring up the Houston game, but y'all remember. So they typically come out of the idle week fairly well prepared, and offensively have a game plan and put up points. Oklahoma State's coming off back-to-back losses, including getting embarrassed in the second half against Kansas State. All of that said, I don't like that we're going to agree on 2 straight games here. This is a quintessential Oklahoma State bounces back spot. Next week is an idle week. They're going to make things look good. Everyone's going to feel happy for a week. We don't have to change quarterbacks. It'll still be Alan Bowman. Maybe they'll fix the run game next week. It was looking better for a quarter against Kansas State. This is quintessential OSU bounces back week. I hate to take OSU because the pessimist Oklahoma State fan in me is like, you should pick against them. That way, when they win, you'll feel better, because if you pick them and they lose, you feel worse. But it's a 3-point line, so can you win by a field goal? I feel confident. I feel comfortable, not confident, comfortable that Oklahoma State will bounce back, get the win here at home over West Virginia, and head into the bye week with the opportunity to not be figuring things that are wrong off of a third straight loss.
You know, you were talking about this is a quintessential bounce back spot for Oklahoma State. This is a quintessential get blown out spot for West Virginia. And, you know, there's a lot of non-competitive scores over the last 10 or 12 years when you look back at West Virginia's tenure in the Big 12. And quite a few of them have come against teams from Oklahoma. So when I talk about like laddering the bets and taking alts for longer returns, that's part of that handicap of, hey, I've watched hundreds of West Virginia games and I have seen them lose this game badly many times. So I would, you know what I should add? That's probably your Big 12 bet of the week. I'm pretty confident that Oklahoma State's going to roll here.
I don't remember what last week's was. I think you're about 500 in Big 12 bets. I don't remember what last week's was. You're 500 in the first 4 weeks. I don't think you told me which one it was last week, or I just forgot to mark it down. But I think you're 500 other than with last week.
I'll go back and look, but I think it lost.
I think it was Houston, Iowa State.
Oh no, I think it was Baylor.
Baylor, BYU.
Baylor. Yeah,
it was Baylor, BYU. Okay, so you're 2 and 3 on Big 12 bet of the week. So you should be due for a win this week. All right. Speaking of due for a win, you can win this weekend if you just go to charliehustle.com and get you some incredible gear. Whether your team is preparing for basketball season, Houston, maybe even Kansas, or you are still in the running for a trip to Arlington and you want to celebrate or get ready or just put on something comfortable so that you can cry into because your team's season is already lost, then you need to go to charliehustle.com and check out all of the incredible Big 12 gear that they have available. They have all 16 teams covered. They've got a bunch of great stuff they drop before the season. They've got a bunch of great stuff they keep dropping, and it's a great place to go and do a little Christmas shopping. Well, by the way, make sure you sign up for the rewards program. It's awesome. Like, you get points every time you buy stuff. There's a bunch of ways to just rack up free points, like following them on Twitter and following them on Instagram. And you get my birthday was last month. I got 200 points for my birthday. And I'm like, all right, I'm about to go get me something new and use my points, turn them in, and get a little discount. So get the rewards program. Also, make sure you use our promo code 101215, TEN1215. It gets you 15% off all non-sale items. They've got great stuff on sale, great stuff that's not on sale. You use that promo code. I don't care if you're an Arizona State fan, if you're a UCF fan, if you're an Iowa State fan, a Texas Tech fan, a Kansas State fan, they have got you covered with awesome gear. So charliehustle.com, promo code 101215, TEN1215 for 15% off all non-sale items. Charlie Hustle, vintage made fresh. One of the teams I've got great gear for is, of course, one of the teams we're about to talk about now, Iowa State, hosting Baylor, 6:30 p.m. primetime on Fox, the big FOX channel. Iowa State currently an 11.5-point favorite. There's a 12 out there if that interests you. Total is at 45. There's some 44.5. So if that's something of interest to you, better get it before those 45s disappear. I am up first, sir. So I will go. Iowa State is 4-0 for the first time since 2000. Iowa State has not started 5-0 since 1938. The program that has, and I went looking like thinking that they'd never started 5-0. They did. They've never won 10 games in a season, but they've started 5-0 before. I think that trend is going to break. And I'm pretty sure Iowa State should win 10 games this year for the first time in program history, because if they don't, it's going to be massively, massively disappointed. I'm curious about the Iowa State run game. 87.5 rushing yards per game against North Dakota and Iowa. Didn't hit 90 yards on the ground in either game. Then, since the idle week, 238.5 yards per game. Has Iowa State figured out the run game? Or did they just face Arkansas State, who played a lot of their backups for a lot of that game, and Houston? I don't know yet. Baylor's defense has been middle of the pack. Not sure this is going to be a great test for their run game, but I am curious if they figured it out in the idle week, or it's just been a matter of the opponent. Everything is telling me to take the under here, but the total is so low. 44.5, 45. It's very tempting. Baylor's offense has been better with Sawyer Robertson. Iowa State's defense is stout. Baylor's defense has not been terrible. Iowa State's offense, outside of the Arkansas State game, has been 20 points. 20 points here, 21 points there. The reason Houston punted from the Iowa State 34, I'm sorry, Houston fans keep pointing out that stat, is they didn't believe Iowa State's offense could do much. And it didn't in the first half. It got some things rolling in the second half against Houston. It's been okay outside of an Arkansas State game where they played backups for a lot of the game. The offense hasn't been awesome. But Baylor is 14th in pace of play. I think that favors Iowa State in the over, because I think a lot of teams have been playing slower against Iowa State on purpose. Houston and North Dakota played slow, low possession games, which led to lower scores. And looking at Matt Campbell versus Dave Aranda, the totals in Baylor versus Iowa State matchups have been 48, 55, 60, and 69. Now, those are actually in backwards order. Last year was 48. I'm still very, very tempted to take the under. What scares me is that Baylor has come out swinging in the second half of games. If you've noticed, their offense is not good in the first half, and they figure things out in the second. Utah, BYU, Air Force. That makes me nervous about a backdoor cover with a total this low. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to start to wonder when the bottom falls out for Baylor, who still seems like they're playing for Dave Aranda pretty hard, despite him heading towards the unemployment line, though for a very brief amount of time, because he's going to get a DC job in no time. Back-to-back heartbreaking losses to Colorado and BYU. Now you got to go on the road to Iowa State and deal with that Cyclone defense. At 11.5, I'm just going to take Iowa State to cover. I think that the lower scoring games have, again, the offense hasn't been great, but I also think teams are playing slow against Iowa State because they think the offense isn't great. And so it's been low possession games. Baylor plays at a much faster pace. I think it's going to lead to a higher scoring game. I think that Iowa State's going to put up more points, and I don't think Baylor's going to keep up. I'll take Iowa State minus 11.5. Chase.
Well, we finally have a game where we disagree here, because for this game, I was considering Baylor and the over. So, I just don't think Baylor is as bad as the market thinks it is. I know they went down to BYU 21-0 early. I watched the whole game. I was texting Phillip. I bought a Baylor plus 1,000 live ticket at one point that came dangerously close to giving me a really nice payout.
Close.
Yeah, it was a great buy by me. I thought Baylor outplayed BYU the last 3 quarters of that game. Certainly in the second half. They went for a lot of fourth downs. They got a lot of fourth downs. And it's easy to have guts in high leverage moments if you think you're about to get fired, I guess. So I don't want to over prescribe how impressive that was. But I did think they had good play calls and made really impressive plays. A couple of catches down the sideline were really nice in that game. So I would absolutely consider the points with Baylor here. The play for me is over 45. And this is a very clear over matchup if you look at the history between Aranda and Campbell. 4 straight overs with an average of 58 points per contest. That is nowhere near this total. I do not think this is a repeat of last week's game where Iowa State's opponent can't score any points. I do think Baylor will do what it needs to do here and hold up its end in terms of a total handicap. So I will take the over.
Yeah, I think you're on the right side. And I got you 44.5. So there's that extra.
Even better. All these numbers are from Tuesday morning. So yeah, some of them might be a little outdated.
It's all right. It's all right. Moving on down our list, we've got a non-conference game, the last non-conference game the Big 12 will play this season. UCF on the road at Florida. UCF is now a 2.5-point favorite. I'm pretty sure that flipped from Florida when it opened. Total is at 61.5. Chase, you're up first, sir. What would you like?
Yeah, it's a fascinating game. You just referenced it. Florida opened as a favorite here, and it's flipped to UCF. Regardless of how bad Knights fans probably want to get the stink off them after laying the egg last week to Colorado, there is no doubt who needs this game more, and it ain't UCF, man. Florida is in dire straits right now. You think Aranda's on a hot seat. I kind of want to bet with the line movement because I think the best version of UCF is clearly better than the best version of Florida. I kind of want to bet the over because these teams are combined 7-1 in that direction this season. This is a bit of a gut lean. Something really bothers me about coming out of a bye like UCF did and looking that bad at home against Colorado. It was weird. I thought the game plan was wrong. I thought the pressure was bad, like confusingly bad. I didn't know what they were doing. I thought the offense was kind of the whole thing. And it could be a game script related thing because, UCF wants to run the ball and you get behind, and that's always a tough place to be in if you're a team who primarily, like, your offensive identity is ground based. But just looking at general output here, and I'm not getting into too fancy of stats here, but like week 1, you blast New Hampshire, 57 points of offense. Week 2, really good game against Sam Houston that I've referenced, lovingly multiple times since then. It was a great game that UCF played, 45 points. Week 3, barely win at mid-table TCU, 35 points. Last week, off a bye, 21 points. This is not going in the correct direction here. And that gives me a little pause that you're going on the road, playing an emotional game against Big Brother Florida. We all know that these state schools have certain kind of complexes, and I'm speaking as somebody that went to a state school that has a complex against Big Brother ACC teams that are in state. So like, I get it. I'm not saying it disparagingly, but it kind of is what it is. These are difficult matchups. The Swamp can be a challenging place to play, and we know Florida needs it bad. So I'm actually going to be gut lean on the Florida side of this, even though I think my eyes tell me UCF is probably the better team if you're getting the best of both squads.
It feels, though, like a great spot to bet UCF. But it was until the line flipped, at least. Like, I liked it better when Florida was the favorite in this game.
Yeah, and that's another thing that skeeves me out a little bit, is anytime you have like the team that opens as the dog and quickly gets bet to favorite status, like those teams don't have a good track record ROI wise.
Yeah, like, again, last week was weird. I mean, they got whooped by Colorado, and 4 turnovers were a big part of it. And not being able to run the ball against a defense that's not great at stopping the ball, like, that's your whole bread and butter. And I get it. You got behind. Your defense is not great. That's what you get for hiring Ted Roof. I don't know who thought that was a good idea, but whatever. A couple things I want to note. Florida is 119th in third and fourth down defense. UCF is top 10 in third down success rate. If this feels like a game where the over, if you're going to take a total, is the right side. I don't know that either team's going to have a great job. The thing that will stop both of these offenses is going to be themselves, more than it's going to be either defense on the field bowing up and putting on some incredible performance, unless they just have an incredible performance. The stat that leans towards your pick, Chase: Napier is 5-2 against the spread in his last 7 after an idle week.
Pretty good.
So Florida's coming off a week off. The last thing they want to do is not just lose the game, but lose the game to UCF. Because that might be just like the AD meets you at the end of the tunnel on the field after the game, and you walk to his office together as the fans are slowly exiting, upset. Like that's got that kind of, hey man, nice to see you out here on the field. You don't ever come on the field. Yeah, well, it's a different day. And so Florida needs it more. Like, Florida needs it more, but UCF, I think, wants it more. Man. SP Plus is Florida minus 5.1. T-Shoe is Florida minus 2.5. FEI is Florida minus 0.7. Parker is Florida minus 0.37. Kelly Ford has Florida with a 58% chance to win. Beta Rank's the only one that favors UCF at 1.88. I just... I don't feel good. I hate that the Colorado game is swaying me this much, but like the fact that you got smacked by Colorado, but this isn't Shedeur Sanders and it's not Travis Hunter out there making incredible catches. I know they've got SEC athletes. Oh, I don't like this one. You know what? Screw it. Over 61.5. I can't take a side. Like, I don't feel confident either way. Like, my gut leans UCF, but that's I watch a lot of Big 12 and I'm a Big 12 homer gut. And so I'm not sure I should trust my gut in this one, even though I think UCF's the right side. All right. Moving on down the list. All right. Got that one out of our system. 7 p.m. on ESPN2. Arizona State, off of an idle week, hosting arguably the most disappointing team in college football this season in the Kansas Jayhawks, at least based off of preseason expectations. Sorry, Kansas fans. I don't even know if you're listening to this. We're not talking. I don't know. I don't know if Kansas fans are
basketball season in Lawrence.
Arizona State. Yeah, they hate that joke, but
sometimes it's true.
Look, every joke has a little bit of honesty to it. Arizona State, a 2.5 point favorite. Hey, remember how we said this would be a quick episode? Arizona State, a 2.5 point favorite. Total at 50.5. Chase, you are up first, sir. No, I am up first. That's fine. That's me. This is my only notes. Kansas is now 0-5 against the spread this season. Were they a road favorite when this line opened?
I think either they were a road favorite at open or maybe even on a look ahead. But at some point, yeah, I think they were like, I don't have it in front of me, but maybe like -2, something like that.
Because my notes and is a road favorite at a team that is coming off an idle week. It's shifted. That's fine. SP Plus has Kansas minus 1.3. Beta has Kansas minus 6.88. Kelly Ford gives Kansas a 53% chance to win. T-Shoe has Arizona State minus 1.5. FEI has Arizona State minus 5.4. Parker has Arizona State minus 9.51. So we've got a bit of a split here between Arizona State and Kansas. You got a Kansas team that cannot figure it out, does not show any sign of figuring it out, does not seem like they're getting close to getting it figured out, against an Arizona State team who has coming off an idle week, and even in their loss to Texas Tech still was competitive, and they're at home. And I get this for less than a field goal. Arizona State minus 2.5. Chase?
Yeah, I think I called this right a couple weeks ago when I said Kansas kind of has the stink on them. It feels like Arizona State has some issues, but I think at least in terms of identity, it feels like they know what they are right now. They have positive momentum. I would need more than 3 points to consider the Kansas side of this at this point. Arizona State's going to be pretty square, but I also think it's the right side. The public wins sometimes. So Sun Devils, please.
Agreed. That was easy. All right. All right. The game of the weekend for the Big 12 is a 10 p.m. Central Time kickoff on Fox. Welcome to having the West Coast teams. Arizona hosting Texas Tech in Tucson. This will be Texas Tech's second Big 12 after dark game on the road this season, so, it's not unfamiliar territory for them. As of now, Arizona is a 6-point favorite. Total in this one is 64. That sounds like a Big 12 score. Chase, you are first this time. What would you like, sir?
Well, just one point of clarification here, which I think is going to be relevant here in a second. I'm seeing a 6.5 at FanDuel, so let's mark that.
Yes. There's a 6.5
for a moment from now.
Okay.
I texted Phillip last Saturday afternoon. It was about 5:30 East Coast time. If Central Time is God's time, does that mean that East Coast time is demon time?
Devil time?
Something to think about.
Sure.
I texted Phillip around 5:30 demon time. I texted him This is a direct quote. About to scoot to a bar one neighborhood over to watch football for the night. 33 is the new 23. So, went out with my best friend on Saturday night. We drank a bunch of $3 wine at happy hour. We snuck into a rooftop corporate event, ate a bunch of shrimp and meatballs that were in no way intended for us. I went back to his apartment. I watched an hour of Jeopardy, and I drank several more Michelob Ultras. Tried to scoot back to my house, found out that the scooters turn off at 1 a.m. here in Richmond, and we were on the far side of 215, so I just walked home. Can't wait to be a dad in 8 weeks. I say all that to explain the following. I did not quite get to observe the subtleties of Utah, Arizona live on Saturday evening. So I got to kick that off later the next day. If you, like me, did not get to watch this game, let me save you some trouble. It's not just that Utah didn't have Cam Rising playing quarterback. They essentially had the same amount of offense as Arizona, but they threw 2 picks and they were 0 for 4 on 4th down. Essentially -5 turnovers in the game for the day, which obviously that'll do it, especially in a low-scoring game. On the back of that now, we have Arizona as almost a touchdown favorite at home in a conference game. My question in handicapping this game is, what would this number have been like 6 days ago? Because it feels like Arizona wouldn't have been 6.5 after a pretty lousy September. I think it would have been like 2.5 or 3. So I think this number is a little too chunky to really do anything but bet Texas Tech. It's not even that this is a sell high on Arizona. It's that the market is like just kind of wrong, mistaken based on the outcome and the substance of that Utah game. So I like Texas Tech plus 6.5 here. Especially, I think you can do it more confidently, knowing that Tech's health concerns have kind of moved in the right direction. I typically don't like betting Tech on the road, as I've talked about before. Like, they're a bet 'em in Lubbock kind of team and fade them on the road. But in this case, because of the specifics of the game, I'm going to take the points with the Red Raiders.
I'll keep it simple. 2 quarterbacks playing well, 2 offenses with a lot of pieces that are fun to watch, 2 defenses that I don't exactly trust. It's an insanely high number, but I'm taking the over 64. This feels like 2 teams that are both going to hit the 30s. Like, last team to score wins this one. It wouldn't shock me if it was a 42-38 kind of game. I think this one's going over. I think both these teams are going to put up some points. Taj Brooks is going to have a great time running. Noah Fafita and T-Mac are going to connect a few times. Neither defense impresses me. I think there's going to be a lot of scoring. I think Texas Tech's the right side here, but again, last team scores, and if it's a last team score situation, in my mind, I have a hard time taking a side. I know 64 is a big number. I think these are 2 offenses that are clicking pretty well right now, so I will take the over. Which is insane. It's 64 points. But it also, Arizona, Texas Tech feels like, Arizona, Texas Tech, of all the new, like, Big 12 matchups, is the one that feels the most like a Big 12 matchup of all of them. And it feels like an old school Big 12 matchup. Feels like 2 teams that should be putting up a lot of points in the desert. We're calling this one the Tumbleweed Tussle. That's the name for this one. Tumbleweed Tussle, which is an awesome name for the trophy that I made up. And instead of like photoshopping a bunch of random pieces together, I just asked Adobe AI to make up a trophy for me because I got lazy today. I still had to hit refresh like 3 times till I got what I liked, but it's fine. I got a fake trophy. I love making fake trophies. All right. We wrap this show up the same way we do every week. Both Chase and I, and normally our guest, can pick one non-Big 12 game of your choosing, whatever you want to. Chase, I think I'm supposed to go first. I got a couple of different options here. Let me see where the numbers are at right now. Let's see. Indiana's a 13.5 now over Northwestern. I think that's probably the right side, but that's a little bit more than I want to do. Okay. I have 2 I like. I have two I like. And one is going against every bone in my body and every trend that has ever been. Everyone knows the stat about when military academies face off. The under is an insane winner. Absolutely insane winner. But the problem with that is this. Navy's quarterback has thrown 7 touchdowns and 1 interception. And Air Force's butt. The total's at 35.5. Vegas has had to set the total so low because the totals in Air Force or in matchups between service academies is always so low. I can't believe I'm going to do this, and it's going to be wrong because they always are. I think I want to take the over in Navy Air Force. I think I want the over 35.5 because I actually think Navy is pretty dang good. It's good. I think Air Force is terrible, and I think Navy's been able to score quite a few points on Air Force. Navy might put up 38 points on their own. This is the terrible decision. It's an absolutely terrible decision to vote on an over when it comes to service academies. But I think this is a spot where it is going to be the right side to actually take the over. The under would be a Navy Army or Army Air. I think the over is the right side here, which is an insane thing to say. Chase.
I also have a pick in the Navy Air Force game. I like Navy -10. I got it at 8.5 in real life. It went to 9.5 when I wrote my picks column this week. It is now at 10. I would lay 10. And I wrote about the total a little bit in my picks column too, even though the pick that I was formally giving out was the Navy side. You're exactly right. Navy can hit 40 points in this game by itself. We talked about QBR in college football this year, earlier in the episode. Number 1 total QBR of all FBS players, Blake Horvath at Navy. The dude is balling. Navy is so, I'm shocked the reason this number is 10, I think here, let me go to the actual line I wrote here in my notes because it's too good not to read. If this team wore jerseys that said Maryland Annapolis instead of Navy, this number would be -20. But because it's Navy, it's -10. If you've watched Navy play, they're really good this year. And it's not the offense that you think it is. It is a real pass the ball offense. To cover 10 points, I mean, they've won every FBS game they've played this year by at least 10 points. And Air Force is probably the worst team they've played this year, and I might be including the FCS team they played. So, it's the fact that this is 10 is a steal. So I love the Navy side of this game. And what I wrote in the column, which lines up with Philip's pick of the over, is I would think about parlaying this. I would bet the side, but then I would go ahead and on top of betting the side, I would bet Navy -10 parlayed with the over, kind of on the expectation that Navy's going to bludgeon Air Force so badly that you're going to get both an over and a giant cover out of this. So I like a lot of action in that game. And then, I'll add just a couple more here notes on other games just to give people different looks.
Hold on, because I want to ask you about one. The other one I was really considering, because I like Indiana over Northwestern. I just 13.5 is and it's part of it's just old Indiana, but this Indiana team is really good in Northwestern.
Indiana's going to cover its win total this week. They're going to go over their preseason win total in the first week of October.
Talk to your kids about 9-win Indiana. The other one I liked and thought about was Stanford plus 8.5 versus Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech having to go all the way across the country to a Stanford team that is a competent Stanford football team right now. That is a competent team and is getting more than a touchdown. I know enough about Virginia Tech to say that doesn't smell right.
I also wrote, I think this is in my column as well. I don't, what have we seen from Virginia Tech this year that they're more than a touchdown favorite on the road 3,000 miles away from Blacksburg against a reason? I mean, Stanford won at Syracuse. Syracuse isn't going to make the playoff, but they don't suck. And it just feels like to me, this is this almost feels like a line that got set on August 1st that somehow everybody forgot to adjust. Like 2 months ago, Virginia Tech, playoff sleeper, ACC sleeper, Stanford, not good. Virginia Tech by a touchdown, which is what it was probably 72 hours ago, and then it got bet down to 8.5. I just don't think this line makes any sense at all. And not in the way of like, ooh, let's lean into it and bet it. Not make sense. This feels like lazy shorthand. Virginia Tech. Ooh, Virginia Tech just played Miami to a draw and maybe should have won that game, depending on how the call at the end goes. But instead they lost. So we got to make them a big road favorite against Stanford. It's just, that's not how it works.
I put $1 on Stanford
Yeah.
to win outright.
I would bet Stanford outright and plus the 8.5. Yeah, I would have positions on both. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
I want to mention Texas A&M as an unranked favorite against ranked Missouri. I believe that opened at Texas A&M 4, and it's down to A&M 2.5. I would definitely jump on that now that you can get it on the right side of the 3. I know it didn't work out for Baylor last week, although I would argue if they didn't spot 21 points to BYU at the beginning of the game, it probably would have worked out for them. But, you live and you learn. I definitely like the A&M side of that, and I have no qualms about playing that trend again, even though it didn't work out last week. The other one I like, cover your ears, fellow alums, and probably Phillip too, now that he is a converted and sad JMU fan who lost money a couple weeks ago. But 17.5 on the road at Monroe is stupid. I mean, that's just a dumb line. And I get it. They've scored 133 points the last 2 games. But, I mean, what do you think they're going to average 65 points a game the rest of the season? That's just stupid. I mean, going on the road, conference opener, laying 17.5. What are you doing? I mean, it's so dumb. I understand the offensive fireworks of the last 2 weeks, one of which came on the road in ACC school. I get it. 2 weeks ago, we were talking about how tough this roster is because all the talent went to Indiana. It's a young coach. It's a really talented coaching staff. I love the coaching staff. But, I mean, they've got to develop a lot of players. There's a lot of new names, a lot of guys. We're not sure about Alonza as the quarterback. Like, in 2 weeks, you go from that to, yeah, I think they should be a 2.5 touchdown favorite on the road to start conference play against a team that's 3-1, pretty good, and has a good defense. Like, that's crazy. And I know what I've already said this to JMU people. I've already heard the responses. I get it. But, like, just gambling 101, this is a bad idea. And if you're laying this giant of a number in this spot, like, you're probably going to get burned.
All right. I'll run through the other ones I actually put money on, and you can tell me your thoughts. I've got Clemson minus 14.5. These are all like dollar bets, by the way. At Florida State. The Clemson, forget week 1, like they're just rolling out. And I can't have I bet on this team, but I've got Pitt minus 3 at North Carolina.
Yeah, that's probably the side I would want. I won't get involved because at some point maybe North Carolina wakes up and but I think it's just as likely that Mac Brown is DOA right now.
Mac Brown's done.
He might be.
This is that after the weird locker room stuff and the rants. Like at some point you're just like, there is a senile old man currently coaching our football team. We should probably get
I think I know what he was trying to do with the JMU stuff, so I won't hold that part against him. I think the bigger crime is actually the giving up of the 70. It's not. I mean, I watched all of his press conference stuff after that game, and he was talking about, we should never be in a position where we lose like this to a G5 school. And I get the point he was trying to make, but like, okay, dude.
But also like but it comes across that way. Like after you get your butt whooped like that, you just be like, we got butt whooped.
And he did a fair amount of that too. Like, but I thought the biggest sin was just like that defense looked so unprepared. They looked so unprepared. It was like they didn't practice that week. And then the Duke collapse, it's just like this. It's a little bit like Kansas. It's a little bit like this doesn't smell right. So if I'm betting the game, I'm on the Pittsburgh side. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then I have $1 on over in Navy and Air Force. So, all right. Chase, it's always a pleasure. Where can everybody check out the work you do covering college football?
At Chase A. Kiddy on Twitter, the BetMGM blog. basketball season coming up, so I'm definitely looking at college basketball odds and NBA stuff a little bit as well, on top of the college football over the next couple of months. And then Square Bets podcast, where me and my silly friends try to bet against professional bettors, and they know what the professionals know what they're doing, and my silly friends really do not. Currently in 900th place after the first quarter in a contest with 6,000 and some and change. So I mean, not bad. I'll take it.
Very good. All right. You can follow us 1012 Network on Twitter, 1012 Pod on Instagram and Threads. If you're listening on YouTube, leave us give us a thumbs up. Leave a comment. I'll respond to them. If you're listening on iTunes or anyone else, leave us 5 stars and a review. We would greatly appreciate it. It really does help the show out. We'll be back on Monday to recap the weekend that was and look ahead to the weekend that will be. We will talk to you all again then.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.